All right, another one of our Barrett Sports Media video visits. So this week, JB, we have been talking a lot about Will Cain's impending exit from ESPN Radio. It was, I hate to call it the worst kept secret in the business because it was all rumor up until last week when ESPN officially acknowledged it with their affiliates. I wrote a column pointing out 5 local talents I thought would be ideal to sort of be the next guy they treat the way they treated Colin Cowherd. Rob Guerrera Stats wrote a column about, ESPN Radio has kind of taken the focus off of radio. It does seem like whether the changes ended Will Cain or some of those further rumored changes come about, it does seem like we're at a turning point possibly for ESPN Radio.
Well, we are, but, to be fair, they've been in this boat for the last few years.
Right.
I mean, before Cain got put in afternoon drive, at one point, Levitard was in afternoon drive and Cowherd was there. And, they went through a bunch of these changes, and it really goes back to when the FS1 thing happened and Colin left and Skip left. And so they went through a lot of change. Even if you go before that, Van Pelt was there with Russillo, then Russillo with Cannell, then Russillo left. So, they've been going through a lot of change, and quite frankly, ESPN Radio is a major brand. Yeah. They should be able to be stable with the brand that they have, with the reach that they have across the country with local stations. So clearly, I don't think they can afford to continue to do this year after year and retain affiliate confidence. So to me, whichever direction they go here, they've got to make a move, and they've got to be able to, continue and know that it's somebody they're going to build on, because quite frankly, they just spent a few years building up Will Cain. Clearly he delivered, and now here they are losing him. So if 3 years from now they've built the next guy and he's walking out the door, what are you exactly doing? You've got to get this right, and you've got to retain your people.
Let me ask you a question, because you worked in the building there for a long time. How does ESPN Radio – what's the best way to ask this? How do they view that East Coast afternoon drive slot? Because I know it is a slot that sometimes the talent in there gets frustrated by being on the East Coast and all their clearance is in the Rocky Mountains or even further west. It seems like the kind of place you would want to stick Will Cain or Bomani Jones before him until you get a rhythm going, and then bump that person up to something more cleared.
And that was kind of always, and now keep in mind, I haven't been there in 15 years, so it's been a while, but I've seen it on the side of a program director who works with stations. For them, it should be the launching pad to something else. Like for Will Cain, he shouldn't be the afternoon drive guy for 5-7 years. That's not what you brought him in there for. It's to build him to something else, just like they did with Levitard, just like they did with Bomani, who wound up going on to a TV show and his podcast. So I think from that standpoint, it's never been seen as hey, this is a really important piece of real estate. I think their biggest focus, when I was there, it was Dan Patrick and Mike, and then Mike and Mike became the bigger focus because it was morning drive, and the network was really trying to push their TV expansion. Cowherd came on the scene. He started to blossom. So it really became about those 3 time slots, and then it's play-by-play, and then hey, if you're an afternoon drive like Will, you're also doing first take. I don't think you're part of the machine, and the ESPN machine is really attractive to a lot of talent.
Right. And that is sort of leads right into my next question of what is ESPN even looking for when they fill this role? Andrew Marchand threw out some names that could be hot for whatever sort of changes come to the ESPN radio lineup, and they included a lot of people already in the family, right? Max Kellerman returning to radio, Keyshawn Johnson, his former partner out in LA, maybe getting a national platform. Peter Rosenberg maybe getting a national platform on their station in New York. Mina Kimes was another name mentioned. So it does seem like all of those people that Marchand has heard are being considered do have some level of stardom or at least name recognition to them already.
No, here's what they have. If you look, you have to, all of these moves, any place in the country, look who's in charge of making the moves and then connect the dots.
Right.
So who's the general manager in New York and LA? Tim McCarthy. Okay. Who's the program director? Justin Craig. Used to be in Chicago, used to be in New York. Right. Amanda Gifford, she's been with ESPN for almost 20 years. Dave Roberts, First Take, right? So would Dave Roberts not like Max Kellerman?
Yeah.
Of course he would. He
Yeah,
works
of
with
course.
him, right? Would Tim McCarthy not like Keyshawn Johnson or Max Kellerman? He knows both of them.
Yeah.
Mina Kimes is involved with ESPN LA. Peter Rosenberg's with ESPN New York. So, and by the way, some of these people are extremely talented. They're deserving, and that's one of the things that we shouldn't lose sight of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying any of those people are not talented. I'll sort of wrap up on what the point of Stats' column was, though, which is, when do you stretch those people too thin to deliver a quality radio product? Because Stats made the point that there is an element of, let's say, overwhelming personality that you need in radio that you don't need in TV, because there are graphics and there's cutting to video and stuff like that. At what point do they sort of have to take a look in the mirror, I guess, and go, can we count on Max to deliver on First Take and then deliver a killer radio show?
Well, I think the answer to that is it can be done because Stephen A. did it. Now, I think the bigger question is...
Yeah, but Stephen A. he's a freak of nature in terms of his
No, he is, but
work ethic
I
and
think
talent.
the point was he was hosting 1 to 3.
Yeah.
Could he do 2 hours a day? I mean, of course, Max used to be on in LA. He was also doing Sports Nation. He was on Around the Horn. So, and by the way, he's an ass-kicking radio talent.
Yeah.
So now what we also don't know is Skip Bayless's contract's coming up. What if ESPN was interested in reuniting Skip Bayless and Stephen A.? Where does that put Max's situation? I feel like
that's where the smart money is. I really do. And that is nothing against Max. It's just...
Now, listen, Max would hate that, obviously. But if ESPN's at the table and they go, look, this is what we got, those are the things, and I have no inside knowledge on that at all.
Yeah.
I'm just looking through the leaves and going, okay, well, if that came in, if they brought Skip in, then that would change things. Dan Le Batard was succeeding in radio in Miami, and he was a well-known columnist and built his brand there. Always had his claws in the network to a degree, but wasn't doing what he's doing now on the national level 5 days a week. Now he is, and he's got a massive audience. So if they were to bring in a Mike Felger, a Danny Parkins, a Carrington Harrison, or any other local talent and really put the machine behind them, I think they could succeed. It just comes down to, who does Justin, Dave, Tim, Amanda, Scott McCarthy, and everyone else in that process feel gives them the best chance to do that. And the other side of it, which is frustrating for programming people, they're looking at the revenue side and
of course
keeping affiliates happy. Like, everybody knew, and it's no knock on Trey Wingo because I love Trey, but when Trey moved in to take over for Greeny and Golick, everyone felt, okay, the Mike and Mike ship has sailed.
Yep.
But they couldn't walk away from all that money. They had to put something in that would keep some of those Mike and Mike affiliates happy and advertisers. So now Trey hates waking up in mornings, and they'll have to deal with it. But sometimes you put a Band-Aid on things, even though it's not the best long-term answer, because you're ultimately just trying to keep business afloat.